What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another Pixelogic stream. My name is Ian, and I also know IR Sculpts. That's how I go by. Anyway, guys, happy Sunday. Welcome into another Pixel stream. Hopefully you guys are doing well. Hopefully your weekend is going well. So today we're going to continue off where we left off, which is the muscle mice. We did a block out. It's still very rough. It's still very but we'll get it. We'll make it look good. Hopefully get to the pose today. Be good. What is up, Chris? What is up, Bad Cat? How you guys doing? Okay, so this is where we left off. Got a little bit of color. But just a real quick, just a synopsis. Nothing to write home about, but just so we can kind of see where it's at. This way, get a sense. Really, all we were really focused on was just trying to get the block out so that it reads the thing that we want. I'm going to want to push this to post pretty quickly before I start finalizing stuff, because he's just muscle and fur at this point. So getting proportions cleaned up, and then from there going ahead and getting the detail in, I'm going to want to push it to pose to get that going. Not too fun. How you doing? So let's just get started instead of jabbing around about it. We're going to go ahead and actually create a new file, an 03 file, because I like to name my my blackout stages as such. So let's just start, and let's get these proportions cleaned up. And as you can see, the dancing, as you can see the dancing mice in the corner, that's what we're working on. If you guys haven't seen Demon Slayer, you guys definitely should. It's a fun anime. Really, really good stuff. But this is what we're working on right here. And I'm thinking we're going to go with this pose here. Feels just a little bit more appropriate. And we got some really nice body language going on here that I want to hit. So let's adjust the leg proportion and then get into posing. Muscles and furs. Doing some sculpting as always. How are you doing? I'm doing great. Too fun. I'm doing great. Just relaxing, enjoying my day. Ready to do some sculpting. So let's turn this tail off. We don't really need it right now. I have the move brush, and we're gonna clean up the proportions here, just because they're just a little much. What I want to do is actually add in some color here, just so I know where the fur stops. So we're going to mask off that bottom section, sample right here, and color fill a little light gradient, and then we'll color fill feet. That'll tell me where the fur should essentially stop. Let's actually go a little higher. Are those gloves mandatory for ZBrush Pros? No, I wear a glove of any type. This one is more for like a hand warmer, but it slides real nice on my Wacom tablet. It's not necessary, but if you find that your hands stick, the gloves that you get with most of the tablets, I got one here. The ones that come with most tablets, they're kind of cheap. But it's just so you can glide a little easier. I know some artists use them, some don't. I tend to use them just because it's a little bit easier for me, but no, you don't have to. In fact, I probably went years before trying one out, and I liked it. Get that booty going. Also, keep your smudgy oily hands off the tablet. Yeah, absolutely. That's a good way to put it. Okay. So I decided what we're going to do for the fur is we're actually just going to use a standard ZBrush brush, one of the curve brushes. We'll take one of the alpha curve brushes and we'll modify it. That way, if anybody wants to know how to use or make something to use for a fur brush, you can absolutely do it in ZBrush. So nothing too custom, nothing crazy. Just push that back a little bit. We want kind of that nice shape here. Let's get his knee put in. I opened this up and was immediately like, ooh, a little rough. Get clay buildup. Let's build up. That might be a little hard to see, so let's just turn off the paint for a second. Save in window. Mouse yeah. I've heard some people wear them for medical reasons or those different ones. Yeah, actually you can. If you find that your wrist gets tired, they make some that are really good with wrist support. So anything that is ergonomically friendly is beneficial for sure. What I like to do is I like to stretch a lot, so I'll put my hands together and I'll just kind of warm up my wrists, and I'll, just kind of bend them back and forth a little bit and shake them out. I find that the more I stretch, the easier it is. But if you're finding that you have a little bit of stiffness, yeah, the gloves can't hurt because it keeps your wrist and hand warm. Just I recommend take breaks as often as possible. But yeah, if you're having issues, definitely check something out like that. Maybe ask your doctor, see what they recommend. But yeah, absolutely you can. I would say look up. I think it's ergonomic. Yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, the one for arthritis or carpal have a brace inside of it. Yep, absolutely. How do you feel about Pixelog being bought up by Maxon? Feel awesome. See what happens. Life will be good. I think it's great for the company. What's up, Matt? How you doing? Yep. Yeah, I will brave these I will brave the solid answer to a little bit more in depth. I feel like I just shrugged that question off. Sorry, I didn't mean to. I personally think that Pixelogic is going to always bring the best experience for ZBrush possible, and I completely trust their decision on what it is they do. Anything that's going to benefit the community and the platform that we use every day, that we teach here every day, I think is going to be fantastic. So I'm optimistic, and I really am excited to see what happens. So let's do it. Let's see what happens. So no, I think it's going to be overall really good. So let's it'll be fun. That is my answer. That is my honest answer. And knowing is half the battle. Okay. My brush is just intensity all the way down. I need to clean this up. This was ugly. Okay, let's get a little bit of a kneecap going on here. Yeah. Got a little bit of a knee recognition. Again, a lot of this is going to be covered in fur, so I'm not really concerned too much about how the underbelly shape looks. Once we pose it, things are going to get a lot better. For now, just kind of correcting that proportion a little. Now that we got that basic shape, let's go ahead and actually start moving into pose, because we definitely need to get the feel of this mouse going on. So let's do it. So we're going to go ahead and just quickly save one more time. Let's turn the color back on. Let's turn the tail back on. And now we're going to go ahead and use an awesome plugin. You all know I like it. T-Pose Master. And let's go back to T-Pose Master. Yeah. It definitely. It is interesting, actually, trying to combine this, like, human / animal anatomy. I've never really done it before, so hopefully it's not coming off too terrible. But what we're going to do is, because he's posing with both arms up, what I'm going to do is turn on symmetry, pick arms, his hands, all that stuff, mask the rest off because we cut this off last time. What we can do now is kind of just rotate these and get them into a decent pose. We'll rotate the shoulders afterward. And we're going for kind of a classic bodybuilder pose. So he'll be tilted a little bit, but we'll stick on the kind of stick on the symmetry wagon for change stuff around. Get that right about there. Pull him up a little bit. Showcase his lats. Let's grab this. We're gonna grab the mass lasso. Soften that. Go. Now we're gonna lift this up. Now the thing to remember is that when you're posing something like this, the pecs need to go up as well. When you raise your arms, your pectoral muscles will lift at the same time. So what we want to do is actually make sure that we're seeing that as we move it up. So we can soften that up a bit. We can even take the basic mask, soften that just a bit more, rotate that. Get that shoulder brought back, and then we'll correct the arms. Reshape this whole deltoid. Deltoid would be facing back now. And it looks like his neck kind of bleeds in there a little bit, so we can probably shortchange that. The brighter side things, crazy good skill, was working on a biped mouse, and also oddly enough when I hit the stream. Nice, man, nice. Animal anatomy is surprisingly similar to humans. Seeing how the muscles do the same thing in different ways on animals is very fascinating. Absolutely. Let's go, Bert. Is this going to go on or with the other Demon Slayer sculpt, or is this just a separate piece on its own? Great question. It's actually a separate piece on its own. I've just been like on the I've been on the Demon Slayer train. It's exciting. I'm freaking excited about it. Yeah, A-Cube, what is happening? Everybody, you guys know A-Cube, right? Please say yes. That's the right answer. I'm really this time. What's good today? Everything's good today. Today is a great day. Today is an awesome day of just chilling and getting some sculpting done and making muscle mice men. How are you doing? Okay. Now let's go ahead and let's move this out just a little bit. Let's love it. Nice. Okay, let's move his arms up a little bit. Now we got to remember too, when we're doing any type of lifting of muscles, we have to keep in you have to keep the mindset of how the muscles contract and how they stretch. And so when he's going to have his arms up, we're going to bend it. His biceps are going to be bulging a little bit more than typical. So we're going to separate this just a bit. I'm going to use Brush Infinite. We're going to raise up his biceps a little. But because of that, they're actually going to also pull back as we go in. So kind of keep that in mind as we do this. Well, that is something. Hey, what's up, Next Knox? I'm good. I fought the laundry machine and I won some jacked up. That's awesome. Yay! Awesome, awesome. Yeah, if you guys don't know, A-Cube is an amazing Pixel streamer. She is a concept artist. She's very super talented, hardworking artist. Check her out. Follow her. Click her name. Real quick, fast, in a hurry. You guys won't be disappointed. I'm sure most of you guys know. Okay. Let's get the shoulders up. Let's actually get this tricep in. Yeah, next Knox. This is a fun, super fun Demon Slayer piece. Okay, we're gonna give him the double bicep look because he's just so jacked that he deserves nothing but the best. So, double bicep, for those of you who don't know, if you're looking at it this way, you're going to have the deltoid as your fake bicep and then the bicep itself. So, that would be... Arnold Schwarzenegger had it, so let's That's what we're going for. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. No, I'm just kidding. All right, let's bend these puppies. Hey, Crafting Candace, how are you doing? I feel like I haven't seen you in forever. How are you? How's life? Watch the tan stop span. Gotta love the front double bicep pose. Oh yeah. Okay, so we're gonna do this right here. And let's pull this up a little bit more and let's angle it just a tiny bit more. Now we're not going on detailing here. We're just getting the pose done. That's the most important part. And let's get these neck muscles up here a little bit. Name dropping the governor. It does feel weird living in California and remembering that Arnold was the governor. Believe you me. Okay. That gets tucked in real quick. This is a funny character. Oh, yeah. Okay. Now that we have arms up a bit, we're going to tweak his hands just a teeny bit. I feel like, actually, his arms are much smaller than I have them. So let's correct that. Let's mask this off. Let's come over here. Let's move his hands separate. Let's grab this guy. It looks like they're, like, just super round. Let's come here, and let's actually just kind of push him down a little bit. There we go. Yeah, it was just way too long. We'll detail the muscles later. We'll just stick with this kind of shape right there. Perfect. Okay, now what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually get that body in motion because it's too static right now. We're gonna leave the arms. Actually, no. Let's put these back. I got 100 thoughts going on in my head of how I want to do this. All right, there's this right here. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and actually start moving him a bit. So I'm gonna hide the tail for this part. And I'm going to move his hips first. I'm actually going to take the whole character, turn symmetry off, I'm going to move his hips a little bit. And then from here, I'm going to take his waist. Now I'm going to go ahead and kind of put that back. Because he's going to have weight on one side of his body. So he's leaning, it's kind of hard to explain. I almost want to like show it, but he's leaning on one side, but he has to balance himself directly over one foot in order to stay balanced while he sticks his other foot out. So we're going to kind of try to center his weight a little bit here. Now let's actually take this foot and like kind of press it out a little bit. And a good bodybuilding pose, he's not like stepping just to the side. He's actually stepping kind of in front of him. Oh, can view mom. Oh, thanks. Okay. So we're going to move this here out a little bit. And he's almost going to have to arch his foot at this point, right? He can't just like, we just move his leg. There's moving away from the ground. So we're going to set this here a little bit further than we think. I'm going to take this guy right here. And we're going to move his toe down. Now it's beyond the ground. Now there's this white line down at the bottom of ZBrush. It's probably hard to see, but we're going to use that as the guide of the floor. So we're going to press this like that. Sound effects. Now we're going to mask. Actually, not with this one. Let's actually take mask pen. Gonna line it up to the base of the foot. Add some there. Soften that. Now I'm gonna make this bend just like that. Do that for now. We'll kind of see what that's gonna be like. Now we're gonna have him step back a bit. Mickey muscles. Ninju, Miki, Yuki Muki. Thank you, yeah. Shoto buff. Nice. Butchered that. Didn't mean to butcher that. Now we're going to go ahead and actually kind of step his back leg just a bit. Gonna mask his one foot. Getting that pose going as busy as we can. Here we go. Now. I have to say, as ridiculous as this character is probably my favorite character blocking out so far. City gonna lift it. Nice. I love that. That's funny. Kind of raise that up a little. All right, all right, all right. Up, good, strong. What's up, Cozy? How you doing? Okay. Now what we're gonna do is actually move the top part of his body, right? So he's really exaggerated here. We look at this pose right here, which is what we're going for. We really have a good solid line or curve coming from his foot, from the center of his head down to the center of his foot. And I want to replicate that as much as possible. So we're going to kind of try to get that line drawn out here. So we're going to exaggerate this even more. We're going to turn this way. We're really going to push this guy. Push it. Doing well, thanks. How's it going? It's going really good. To hang out with awesome people. So I'm doing well. Oh, let's get that tail stretched a bit. Might be too. Bring it back. Bring it back. All right. Boop, boop. Let's go ahead and continue forward. With posing, I like to take it really nice and slow. And I'm also going to kind of, so his hips would kind of angle out a little bit. They wouldn't just like go that way, right? They kind of have to angle out a bit. So I'm going to twist them a little bit, and then I'm going to bring it in. Kind of rotate it out. Because remember, the hips, it's a ball and socket joint. So we're going to just go ahead and slowly push this back a little bit. Go. Masked it, so you can't move anything if you mask things. So, pro tip. This section, yeah. Hey, how you doing? Iris, how you doing? Welcome in, welcome in. My life is pain, but chilling with some cool peeps, and right now is a good time. Heck yeah. Yeah. Love coming in here and hanging out with it, buddy. Good time. Okay. Now we're gonna move kind of the upper part. A lot of times when you think bending to a side, your whole upper body is designed to bend, together uniformly, but you can rotate the top part before you start really rotating that bottom part. So what we want to do is, now that we got some decent hip movement, that will always a little bit correct, I'm going to come in here. Now we're going to bend his top part just a little bit more like he's just pushing that extra little bit, right? Ugh, yeah. He's so ridiculous. We're gonna push here, and remember, this part of the lat will stretch. This part of his lats are going to contract. But one side of the body does, the other side does opposite. Just kind of think of it that way. Evening. Okay, now for fun. Take his head. Right? Now we're going to have him kind of looking off to the side a little bit. Shh. I think he might be just a little too far pushed. Possible. Now I'm thinking about 3D printing as well, and so if we look at look at this, his legs are so tiny, teeny tiny. So it's hard to imagine that actually holding up a heavy item, right? So we're going to be doing a tripod effect where his tail is going to equally balance his legs. So we can make them a little smaller than usual so that the top part can be balanced well with the bottom portion of him. But I'm going to cheat it a little bit, and I'm going to make his legs just slightly thicker than I normally would. So it's not going to be a true one-to-one concept to sculpt. It's going to be more of like an exaggerated push, maybe like a double the size of his legs, and see how that feels. We'll go from there. Just kind of a little note. And we'll give him a little bit more of a... We need to actually lunge him forward a bit. He's kind of falling back right now, and that's not going to work. So let's do this. I'm going to rotate him like this. I'm going to push him forward a little bit. And we're even going to twist him. Twist him just a midget. Going to bring his lower back and abdomen forward, but then we're going to end up masking off his chest, kind of flare his chest back a little bit. So almost like he's leaning forward, but he's arching up. Hopefully that makes sense. And we'll actually tilt it back just a little bit more. There we go. Okay. Let's take a look at this as a whole. Take his eyes, everything, his headbands, mask this off. I think we need to actually pull his head back just a little bit. It's too far forward. And in the concept, his pectorals and his deltoids are like just massively touching his face. So we're gonna kind of play along with that and get that pushed up a bit. So balance his head a little bit more in the print, but we'll still kind of keep it as anatomically correct. There is such a thing with this character. A believable anatomy structure. Let's go more like that. want to keep that head on straight. We rotate it. You guys ever work on a piece and you can't help but just laugh at like how crazy it makes you feel? Like, oh, I can't wait to be done with this. Like, that, not in a bad way. Like, I cannot wait to see this piece finished because it's just making me happy. That's how I feel right now. I'm sure that's a universal feeling. Okay. I want to keep the placement as much as I can. Looking uniform because we've moved into an asymmetrical pose. I think we're still going to need to... You know what we can do here? Move that. Pass this off. I think what we need to do is kind of add a little bit of back flex. That calf. Right? So we're going to kind of change up this part right here. Okay, this is going to seem ridiculous, and I can't really show it on stream, but I'm going to stand up real quick and just kind of quickly stand in this pose, because I'm kind of actually trying to figure out if he could stand on both of his toes. I think one of them should be flat. So what I could do, it's a little cheat sometimes when you're posing, is you don't have to keep everything true 1-to-1 proportionally. Sometimes it's helpful to just cheat it a little bit and elongate one leg just slightly. Like if it's too noticeable, obviously it won't work. But if it's not noticeable and you can get away with it, I recommend doing that, because keeping it true 1-to-1, sometimes you'll be like here for hours trying to figure it out. So, in one of the concepts, he is flat foot, and one, he's on his toes. So maybe we really push it down like this. I might correct this after the stream, but let's see. Do this right here. Kind of bend it a little bit more. Set down like such. Right? Maybe even more than that. Yeah, maybe something like that. Right, and then let's take our base mass pen. Okay. Rotate that just a bit. Down just a little bit more. Touch. Using that bottom just for guide. And we'll bend up his toe. I'll probably correct that in the stream if I don't think it would work afterwards, but I think that might actually work out. Let's see here how it's not quite level, so it might be beneficial at this point. What do for right now is actually take this, mask it off, soften it, and this is what I mean. You just kind of, oops, come here, straighten it out, then kind of just pull that down a little. Make that work. You can't tell proportionally. They do stay on their toes a lot in the reference in the corner. Yep, they absolutely do. Yeah, I agree. I agree with you, Sid. Let's do that. Let's keep them on their toes. If it won't balance, we can change it later, but I think we can make this work. That just went one. Now let's, one more time, I'm gonna, here, and we're gonna, a bit more forward. Too much though forward. Want that way back there. Now we're going to take its tail, that back a little bit, kind of stretch it just a smidget. Now when we print, I'll actually make a little flat spot for that to truly balance on, but for the sake of it, we'll keep that here. Then I'm gonna go ahead and rotate, get a little bit of motion in that tail. Actually, let's go the other way. Bit of balance. Back up. Let's just hit Y. Let's stretch this out here. Let's change the focal length of this to, or the shift, yeah, the focal length to like such. And kind of give a little bit of a curve there. Hit R to rotate. A little bit. Okay. Pass this baby off. Now I'm going to go ahead and just, with the focal length now set to 0, I'm actually going to get a little bit of a softness when I try to move this. So we can start to rotate this a bit. Get a little motion in his tail. We can correct the rest later. Yeah, let's leave. Okay. All right, let's send it back before we lose too much. So let's go ahead and go T-pose, mesh. Let's see, yeah, exactly. That's the plan. If the tail touches the ground, it'll help bounce for sure. I could also use bend curve. Absolutely Sculptastic. These are all great ideas. I love it. All right. Took 4 seconds. Now we have a rough pose that we can start to refine. I think that looks pretty good. Actually going to go ahead and maybe just bend this a little bit more in the middle. If I get stuck on something, like, I'm not quite sure how I want that tail to be finally, but we can leave it like this for now. We can come back to it. Let's go ahead and save, and we can call this post. The program, all I did for the program was I typed in OBS keyboard input, and that took me to, I believe that's what it's called, OBS keyboard input. I believe that's what it's called. It was a while ago since I installed it, but I just Googled it, first thing that popped up. Actually, I realized I want to name this or underscore. It's still a block out. We can move to detail afterward. So here we go. This is what we got so far. Still really rough. Now we can start critiquing it and getting the muscle placements work. The first things first, we're going to correct where his lat muscles are and how his arm connects, because it's very rough here. Start critiquing and getting those major forms blocked out. Then we'll slowly work our way to starting some detail and so forth. As far as, I mean, detail, I mean like getting in better sculpted hands. Those are placeholders. Cleaning up the anatomy, merging it together, remeshing it, starting to get ready for the next step. So, not a problem. Okay. What? Gonna take the damn standard, and we're gonna start kind of just lightly sketching out a little bit of detail, just so I can see everything the way I want to see it. I'm still very low topology at this point. There we go. Okay. Now lats will wrap around. They like wrap around. I don't know how else to say that. Your rib cage. So, and they come just underneath your arm a little bit. So we want to make clear identifying landmarks for that connection. This is where I like to take the damn standard and kind of come through and just draw those places out. And of course, always having some sort of reference, even if your experience helps, just because you can kind of refine things a little bit more and also just improve on that one-to-one reference to. What I do like about 3D printing poses like this, his arm is separate. That's a really good connection spot where we can remove it, key it, and it's a nice little hidden seam that most of the time people won't notice unless you know what you're looking for. That's something to keep in mind. Hey, Erm, how you doing? It's late here. Gonna rewatch this tomorrow. Love that you're doing the muscle mouse. Have a good stream, man. Thanks so much, Aaron, for stopping by, dude. Really appreciate it. Yeah, get some sleep, man. Get some sleep. Hopefully you had a good weekend, brother. Hey, Ryan, dude. What's up, man? Come for the bodybuilding mice. Now, what's really cool is if you end up ultimately liking one arm over the other and they're similar in pose like this, it's really helpful. You could just end up working on one arm and then copying and pasting that over to the other side. Perks of digital work. Sparkle, sparkle. Absolutely. Okay. I'm gonna put a little bicep peak there. Come in here, and I'm just quickly sketching that muscle out. Plan here is actually to kind of push this a little bit more than I normally would, so I'm gonna take our time on that. Get that going like that. Get a little bit of that information coming in that showcases shoe arm. Now I have some reference here for the front and the back, so we're gonna focus on that a little bit here. I think I'm gonna do just that. I'm gonna get the one arm looking good, and then we'll flop it on over to the other side. What I would like to do at this point is actually ZBrush it because it's Dynamesh at this point. It's a little denser for Dynamesh that I want, but I don't want to keep increasing the Dynamesh. I want a nice, smooth, clean mesh. So we're actually going to, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to separate this arm. I'm going to split hidden. And now with this arm here, I'm going to go ahead and control stamp a spot in the history. And with this being just single dynamesh here, again, because I'm going to want it really low poly, we're going to go ahead and just ZBrush this. And I'm going to just go with ZBrush's base setup, except for I'm going to turn adapt off, and I'm going to set it to about 15 target poly, so about 15,000, which is essentially what the active points are currently, so hopefully it won't deform too much. So we'll go ahead and hit ZBrush. It will be... There we go, yeah. Now we're going to go cut that in half. Yeah, not too bad. There we go. Now I can hit D to get some dynamic subdivision. Work with a lower resolution. When I'm ready, I'll kick up that resolution. Kind of smooth that a bit. Why aren't you smooth it? Oh. Actually, then I hit Shift S. That. There. Okay. Move this out here. Now the reason why I hit the project history was in case I lost any detail I wanted to keep. But actually the ZBrush was really nice and it kept the detail that I needed. So I'm going to turn that off. We don't need it anymore. And I'm going to refill the color with what it is. Now we're going to save it real quick. Chunky mouse. Yeah. So now I'm going to use clay buildup a little bit, but we're going to soften that focal shift just a bit. I also like to take the alpha brush that is default and change that to alpha 6, which is default in ZBrush, so you don't have to download anything. But it's just a softer clay buildup, but it's going to help me kind of lay out a little bit of muscle mass, a little bit smoother. If I want, I could turn off that low poly, go to geometry, dynamic subdivision. With it turned on, we'll go ahead and hit apply, and that'll give me 3 subdivision levels. It'll be a little bit denser. I'm going to drop it down 1 and then just delete hidden. I don't want to work at a super high at 20 now, so that'll be good enough for what I want to do. Focus on building. Down a little bit. If I ever smooth muscle like I did there, I usually just do like a control smooth where I hit shift, start smoothing, and let go. It's a little less harsh. Gives me a better better control, a lighter smooth. Doesn't destroy what I've worked for. Back to the clay buildup, and let's start getting this built up. Damn standard, we're just going to come in and lightly scribe out that detail that's there. to get the definition and what we're going for. Now, of course, too, we have to remember that the elbows are pointy, not super, super round. Kind of get a little bit more of a plane change happening there. Even though in the concept it's very rounded off, I think it's better to just kind of give it a little bit more of a nice plane change. His forearms. Damn standard, and we'll just redefine this area a little bit more. Slowly gonna work our magic on this. Coming to the back, and let's even out what we got going on here. So right now, let's go to Geometry Dynamic. We'll hit Apply so that we have some dynamic subdivision, and we can start adding some more detail to the rest of his body, indicating that he's actually muscular. And a big tip I have for anybody who's working asymmetrically is you're working with poses like this. It's really good to focus on one side and then immediately do the exact same thing on the opposite side. If I were to sketch out this whole side and then try to repeat it, for me, it doesn't quite work. So I like to just kind of stay consistent among body parts. I find it to be just a little bit easier to work with. And then I can catch my mistakes sooner, which, don't tell anybody, but it happens. Looks like the mouse could be doing a handstand upside down. Absolutely. Whee! Sometimes I'll look at my models upside down too. I find that that's helpful. Kind of tricks my eye a little bit. But yeah. Don't forget, guys, if you're watching and you're new for the first time, or you've been here 100 times and you might have a question, feel free to always let me know too. I love sculpting, but you know, here to help if you got anything. Using the damn standard to just kind of quickly identify muscle landmarks, I find it to be very helpful. Okay. We're gonna make him the most desirable bodybuilder and try to keep his muscles symmetrical. Arnold would be so proud. Here. Now we're gonna build up his neck muscles. I find if you kind of paint in the direction that the muscle fibers should go, they end up feeling a little bit more realistic than if you were to just kind of do this. So I tend to go through the muscles and place them down the way the fibers should be. Even if my intent is to lightly smooth it, it just adds for a little bit more authenticity. Arnold symmetry! Yep. Now, it's going to be hard to tell because, you know, his head is so huge. But we pull this back the way the shoulder rotates, where the clavicle and the shoulder meet. little bit of a flat spot, so we want to try to identify that even just a little bit. Up. Go, there we go. Clean up his hands here in a minute. I keep looking at them and very sad by his hands. Jacked mouse. Up a little bit more. Side, build that up a little bit more. I like to build muscle up slowly. I find it to be a little bit more rewarding, I guess would be the right term. I don't know, it just seems to come together a bit more. It's Hans in France, pump it up! Nice. Okay, and there's this little muscle right here. Now, this is where we're going to go up in resolution just a little bit. A couple more of those muscle details here. Then we're going to move on to another one so we don't get too carried away. But remember how I said those lats wrap around? So I'm going to make sure that I identify how that goes. We're going to be coming across. Get those lats pulled up. Like such. Go light, smooth. Kind of blend those shapes together. Gonna be a little bit more of a stretch. Gonna be a little bit more crunch. Kamara! We're gonna pump you up. Oh, I love that. That just made my day. I love it. Okay. Okay, what we're going to do here is I'm going to take this arm now, and I'm going to hide it. I'm going to take this arm. I'm going to Control-Shift-D. Do Control-Shift-D on any folder, any subtool is going to copy that folder or subtool. If the folder is open and you're on the subtool that's selected, it'll just copy the subtool. But if the folder is closed, it will copy the subtool, the entire folder. So just be careful about that. So what we're going to do is now we're going to move to Geometry, Delete, Lower, because we have subdivisions. And I'm going to go ahead and mirror and weld that, which will copy it. And then we're going to go to Reconstruct Subdiv, and we're going to click it. And however many subdivisions you had before you deleted it, it's going to repair that many times. So now I have 2. I'm going to go up. I'm going to select the one that I want. Delete lower one more time. Not delete lower. Go lower, and now we're going to go ahead and delete hidden. Go. Set back up. Now we're going to use that other arm that we hid. I'm going to turn on transparency, and I'm going to move this to the position that this other one is. So once this arm becomes final, this is how I'm going to do it, but I decided to kind of showcase it now because I thought it made sense. This mouse is from Demon Slayer. It is, that was a statement, not a question. It probably sounded like a question, but Smouse is from Demon Slayer. Awesome anime, you have to check it out. There we go. Now with this one, we could just delete this one. We don't need this one. Cool. I like to do that a lot, so now all that detail. So again, I can just come back, work on the one arm that I need to, and then finalize it. Let's go ahead and save. Hey, Magico. So I'm bad at names for anatomy. I hate to say that, but what I love to do is I'm terrible at names, so don't mind me. But what I like to do is kind of look up the teres. I like to look up the anatomy portion, and then if I have a question about a muscle. So your teres minor would be right here, just at the underside of that back deltoid. And then the teres major is just below that muscle, and it's the bigger one. I'm terrible with anatomy names. I know where it should be. I may not remember the name. So on this guy, what we're looking at is the teres minor would be right here, and the major would be right there. So this chunky muscle right here would be 2, but doesn't always showcase as 2. Even in my bodybuilding reference, it's this group right here. You can see a slight line indication, maybe, on stream, but yeah, for the most part, you're only going to see it as 1. You have a degree in zoology and you can't remember muscle names. Okay, good. You make me feel so much better now. Thank you. Yeah, I'm not the best with muscle names. You know who is, and it's a shout out to him because he honestly is like one of the best at it, and I highly recommend check out Spicer. Just type in Spicer. I have a link for it. You know what? Just you got to check out his stuff because yeah, and he has an amazing course. You guys should definitely check it out because he teaches all of that stuff. But if you just type in Pixologic Spicer, you got to check out this man. If you guys don't know who he is, he's an awesome dude. But he always comes through. He knows all the names, all the things, all the time. I watch him and I feel smarter, and I love it. But he'll break down all the muscle groups. He'll do draw overs. He'll talk about it. It's super awesome. So check out Spicer. Awesome dude. I just know where they should go. All right, before we get too stuck on sculpting the crazy back and make it all ripped and jagged, let's do a quick sketch out of the front, getting those muscles in just a little bit better. And then we'll move on to adding some fur, and then we'll start moving on to the hand build. Gonna come straight down. Again, using the damn standard, just kind of sketching this out. Doing a light smooth. Now I have a trick on building up the chest a little bit, so we'll get to that in a second. Come through here. Really just kind of sketch underneath. Getting that armpit feel there. Now what I'm going to do is actually draw out there. Is what I did that. Here a little bit. Landmarking this stuff. Give a little bit of a belly button. Did they have the belly button? Did they give him one in the... Not really, but we can give him one. Take that play build up. What I like to do is kind of this with the muscles. Center of the chest comes straight across and top down. So I can almost like kind of crisscross. So from the top of his chest down to where his armpit would be, then come across and up and do a light smooth. A lot of times too, if you just draw a line across the center, this pecs, kind of help identify some stuff. We'll end up cleaning that up a bit. Yep, Uzui's, yeah. Those rats are cool. I love them. It's muscle mice. I'm trying to keep it simple, just call them muscle mice. But yeah. If anybody's watching Demon Slayer, what do you guys think of it so far? If anybody's caught up with today's episode. Alright, now I'm going to start moving into getting some fur taken care of. So we got most of this kind of worked out a bit. Now his head's kind of crushed on his body. What I'm going to do is actually end up lifting it up because I find that it feels just a little too scrunched. Grab his nose. So I'm just going to go straight up a little bit. Because it looks like it's more just sitting on this torso, and we can fix that part. But it feels like it's just a little too much here. So let's dial this back. Get that clavicle. Well, I know some muscle names or bone marks, but not all. So you'll hear me say some things. Then the rest I freak out on. I'm going to carve this down a little bit. And I'm going to create a couple spots. Clavicle. Create that. I'm going to carve this back. Like that. That connection there. Because we don't see that part. And let's give him that Arnold chest a little bit, so we'll flare it out. Hey, Rathon Studios, how you doing? Where am I watching it? I watch it on Funimation. It's also on Crunchyroll. Hey, I was wondering how to color pick from a subtool. Keep having to find a color similar, and it takes so much time. Kozu, do you mean, hey, Jose, thanks. Kozu, so wondering how to pick color from a subtool. So you can pick color in quite a few different ways. The way, if you wanted to pick from one subtool to another, all you have to do is hover over that subtool, even with it not selected, and just hit C, and that's going to color pick from one subtool to another. The other thing you can do is actually pick polygroups. So with your polygroups selected, I can actually come in and pick the greens, the purples, or whatever polygroup is there. So that's super helpful. And then, of course, if I turn it off, I'm just color picking from the subtool. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is actually to import, not from a subtool. Another way to pick color to import a texture from something. So let's just go from one of my, like, let's say I load in this texture, this random texture here, bring it in, and I like this green. Again, with hitting Z, you have your texture selected, or Shift D to close it. Hitting Z shows it again. If I have it turned off, I can't select from that area, from the texture, but if I hit Z and have it active, and then I can select color from that texture, and then hide it, of course. And then the final way to pick color that I'm aware of is going to Z Color. And Z Color will not only pick from another subtool, so I just click here and drag over until I find the color that I want. It also allows you to pick color from off screen. So I could pick the blue from the stream, I could pick blue from my wallpaper. So that's 3 ways you can do it. But yeah, it's just simple as hovering over the subtool you want to pick the color from, hit C, hit V to switch, hit C to grab that color again. And there's a smudge on my glasses. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, because I sculpt from concepts a lot, especially at work, they'll give us a concept sheet that we're working from, very much similar to how you guys see me sculpt on a day-to-day. And then I just pick Z Color, and I immediately just have on my separate monitor, I have my concept art there, and I'll pick from the colors there. Or we have a color palette at work when we know things are going to manufacturing. So then if they call out a specific color, like, you know, I need a neon green that is a very specific neon green to the manufacturer, we have color palettes. You could just use Z Color, grab that color, drop it in, and that way they can get a true render to what they want to display. So yeah, Z Color is by far my favorite, and it's naturally installed with ZBrush. It comes stock, so everybody who owns ZBrush will have Z Color art automatically installed on Z plugin. So hopefully that works. Okay. Now let's start moving into actually merging his legs together how we want, and then let's get some fur on it, because right now we don't have any fur on it and he kind of just looks weird. So, so let's save, and then let's get his legs built together, and we'll get some fur on it. So I'm actually going to delete lower on this, keep this the way it is. Find his legs. Where is his leg? Legs are all the way down here. I'm gonna merge this together. Merge down. Say, yep, we just saved. There we go. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna Dynamesh it. And I have a new way of merging things together. Before, I would just use like Dynamesh Utility or Dynamesh Master, because I could just pick the resolution that I wanted. And from there, I would be able to just kind of pick something ridiculously high, merge it together, clean it up, and then subdivide down. What I now do is I still do the Dynamesh merge, but I now use Dynamesh Picker instead. So what I'll do is I'll have the resolution visible, and then I will go to Geometry, Dynamesh, and if we look over here in the corner, we have Picker that's now added in the 2022 update. So the resolution defaulted is saying it's 496. I am using the Picker to kind of confirm what the highest resolution on the model is, so that way I don't lose that much detail when I Z-remesh and then project back. So I'm going to hold Picker, and what I'm going to do is kind of find something that resembles the highest resolution, which is for me right about there. We come back over, the resolution, or the highest resolution that I've scrolled over, is 750. So that tells me that that should be at least equal to the scene. Now, because we merged because we merged subtools together, this may be a little less than what it actually is. That's just the resolution in that spot, but it gives me an idea on where to start. So I would like to kind of crank this up maybe to like by 100. So I'll go 850 just to have it. And now I'll go ahead and hit Dynamesh. Oop. And now, as we can see, it didn't really change much at all, but the density is the way I want it, which is perfect. And now I can go through and start cleaning up this sculpt a bit. So I'm going to go ahead. For me, I do a light smooth in the areas I'm going to try to blend together and clean up. And then I'll use a fill brush. I like to use SKs or Sakaki brushes a lot. So I will go ahead and grab his SK fill. And I'll just kind of fill in spot right here. I'll also use Shane Olsen's fill brush, 3D Character Workshop. They're really great fill brushes. So I didn't see the need to create my own. I like these. Are they going to become stylus holders? Yes, they are now. Love that idea. So let's do it. We're gonna let's do it. Yeah. Let's see how we can adapt that in the backside. Let's see, how can he... Let's figure it out. Yeah. You know what? We'll figure it out. Maybe we'll put like a pin going down and his tail will hold it in place. That'd be sick. Or his arms are up. Yeah, okay. He's posing, but his hands are up and you could set the pin on it. Let's try that. That would be fun. Okay, we'll try 2 different ways and we'll see what we get. Love that idea. Good job, too. I don't normally think about stylus holders, but I love that one. That should be very practical. Okay. Again, I'm not going to define his muscle shapes, but we are now going to be working on getting some fur. So we have Dynamesh here on this model. We're going to subdivide it when we come ready for detailing. So I'm going to keep a Dynamesh as a mental thought because I never final detail anything in Dynamesh. It's too rough to work with. So in its kind of adolescent stage of being kind of detailed, but not really, it's still funky. I like to keep it in Dynamesh until I'm ready to ZBrush it. So, and what we're going to do is we're actually going to fix this section right here real quick. Hey, thanks for everything on Studios. Okay. Those muscle fibers going the way I want. Okay. You know what I think with his head? Need to add some whiskers. We're just gonna take a normal actually gonna get the dark color here. Check this out. Get those whiskers in place. Stretch this out and let's just embed them real quick. Now, more than likely, I'll be printing this in resin. It'll be too detailed and too decent, maybe a little too small for PLA, unless you want to just print a giant. Let's get his whiskers. Just call these placeholder whiskers for now. Actually, let's go ahead and split hidden. That will be the best thing to do. Split hidden. That around. Kind of line them up a bit. Just so they're right there. Okay. Getting weirder and weirder, and I love it even more. Do I know if the 2021.7 to 2022 wipes out your plugins? I don't want to re-download them. To reinstall, based. So the answer is it is a fresh new install. However, there's a way to prevent your plugins from being wiped out. So what you can do, and I do this a lot too because yes, any major update from one series to another, like 2020 to 2021 to 2022 and so on, a lot of times that will actually it won't wipe them out, it just won't install them because it's a new install. So what you can do, and I'm just checking something real quick. Okay, so is if you're on PC, and it should work the same on Mac, you just have to go to utilities, obviously not program files, but go to your previous version of ZBrush. So let's just imagine that this is 2021 for the sake of argument. When you click on it, you go to your Z startup. You should have your plugins, everything here. So everything you throw in should be here. What I like to do is I just copy my Z plugin as well as my cam view and any other alpha preset I brought in. I copy these out and I set them in another location, like on your desktop. Then when you install the new 2022 version, then just come back in here, go back into your, and then just paste them. So copy them out and then paste them, and they'll show up in your Z plugin. That should solve the problem for you. Yeah, you could copy your Z startup as well. That works. I tend not to, just because I don't know what other files might be updated in here for the new version. But I'm a fan of just doing the Z plugins and any brush preset or cam view. Outside of that, yeah. But copying your whole, like Zeal said, the whole Z startup should be fine as well. Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a great question to ask because, yeah, it's not super intuitive. So I totally understand. No, that's a great question. Okay, now we're gonna focus on fur, and I want to actually use ZBrush default brushes. I don't want to bring in a new brush and say, here, this is what I use. Enjoy. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna modify the curve alpha to do what we want to do. And we can either use curve alpha or curve alphas. The difference, if you're new, is curve alpha. When you draw out a curve and then you draw out a second curve, so forth, it's just going to, mask off the previous one. But if you go to curve alphas, you'll have multiple curves that you can manipulate at any given time. So the choice is yours. It's 6 to 1, half a dozen to the other, whichever you would like to use. Go ahead and feel free to use. For me, just to kind of get it set, I like working with one at a time. It is slower for sure, but it's just how my brain works, and it helps out. So, but we're not going to use the star alpha. What we're going to do is I think we're going to just generate. What are we going to do? I think we're going to generate just a full round alpha. That's what I want to. No. Yeah, let's try it. So, just pick it up. Get to see me think out loud. Sure, that's fun. Okay, and I'm going to actually take the stroke palette and I'm going to paste it on over here. And all of you do for that is just go to stroke, hover over the spot, and tap it. Oh, good point. Yes. When you install 2022, by the way, it'll create a whole new folder, so you shouldn't worry about accidental overwrites before transfers. Absolutely. That's tea, not coffee. It's way too late for coffee. Okay. I'm going to cover this. That color. Okay. We're going to make some adjustments to this guy. So I'm going to leave that stroke there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to curve modifiers. I'm going to play with this fall off a little bit. I'm going for just the basic shape. So when I touch here, I can actually get that shape going. Pick a color that's a little bit easier to see. Let's solo this out too. Stick with white there for a second. If I don't get anything I like, I have another thought to do this. But for now, we're just going to modify the curve a bit. And if we don't like what we get, just go ahead and reset that. And then we can go ahead and good. Yeah, that and sculptures are the best things. Nice. Now let's see. We're just playing around at this moment, trying to see. Pop that over here. Let's go to depth. Want to embed that a little bit. I want to do. No, I'm not getting the results I want. Okay, so we're gonna make a brush. That should be fun. Let's do that. Let's go ahead and save and let's make a brush. Just not getting what I want. That's okay. Don't get what you want. Make it. I also forgot about Mesh Project for making heart sculpting joke now, and contrast for helping with printing better details. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's go ahead and make a brush that we're going to be happy with. So I'm going to come over to new cylinder. Here we go, and we're just going to make something. Let's go ahead and insert. I'm going to just make it out of the sphere. Let's hide that. Make it. Slight change in plan. But that's okay. Put X on. Something a little. Want a brush that I can drag out and make quick fur on. Gonna do damn standard. How do I turn on editing after opening save file mesh to continue working on my stuff? So you can turn on editing by either coming at the top and there's this edit button here, but the fastest way is just push T on the keyboard and that will go ahead and start the edit process. So when you save something and you drag it out for the first time, just go ahead and hit T and you're back into it. Like I said, if you're on the default, like, the color is different than your default setting, but this is default ZBrush as you see it. So just right up here on the top left side is edit. Like I said, T on the keyboard, easiest way to do it. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and get the standard move brush, and we're gonna go. A mask? Nope, not a masking. Sorry, we're gonna go to curve, AccuCurve. And we're going to create this kind of a point right here. Brush. So AccuCurve is amazing. It's under brush, curve, AccuCurve. It's amazing because it just makes You draw stuff out, bring stuff to a point. So, super cool. Not a problem, George. Glad to help. Oh. It just doesn't allow me to turn on edit. You mean it's not allowing you to do that? Or is just that was before? Just wanted to drag it out and say, let's go, let's sculpt already. Okay. That should be simple enough. We don't need it too crazy. We're gonna take this one piece, and we're gonna make a brush out of it. So real quick, what we're gonna do is we're gonna hit B for brush. Down at the bottom, we're gonna say create insert mesh. Now, if we had multiple meshes that we wanted to make into an insert multi-mesh brush or an IMM, then we would hit the create insert multi-mesh. But we just want the one. I'm not gonna have a variety of them because I'm gonna change them individually one at a time. So I'm gonna just create mesh, and then it's gonna ask me if I want to append to my current brush. Nope, we don't. We're gonna say new. Now it's gonna create a new brush. And I can draw this out like that. There's our brush. Yay! So I'm gonna come back here. Now what we should do, just for fun, is we could save this out by going to brush and hit save. Or you come up here, save as. Then you could type out for, we could type this IR for, right? And then I'm going to save that just for fun on the desktop right now. There it is. And now the way I like to work with brushes, especially fur, is that they stack on top of each other. So I'm going to draw one out, and then I'm going to kind of see where that lies, and then I'm going to adjust it to where I like it, and then kind of copy paste it around. So first things first, I'm going to draw out the piece that I want, and then I'm going to pick this one, and we're going to split hidden. Now with this one piece, we're going to kind of work with the rest. So I'm going to scale this one up. No, that's actually a great question. Yeah. Did you drag it out on the screen? Yeah, when you first open, here, George, real quick, let me demonstrate if you're still having some problems. I'm going to save this, and then I'm going to go ahead. Yeah, I like to torture myself. That's Sculptastic. No, it's just how I think. Yeah, I do one piece at a time, especially when I'm doing stuff for 3D printing. So this is for George. I'm gonna close my ZBrush real quick. Blank slate here, and I'm gonna load up ZBrush. And this is for anybody who's having troubles with dragging stuff out. So we're gonna load up ZBrush. So this is brand new start. ZBrush is here. So you're going to load up your program. So hit load tool and find where it's at. Say, yep, there it is. Now in this part, you can't hit T. Notice how it's grayed out. So what you'll do is you need to drag it out first. And then that option is available. And by hitting T, you can now edit and do all the fun stuff that we want. So hopefully that's helpful. Now that doesn't load up any of my brushes unless it's in the actual load section, so I gotta load that brush that we just built. Luckily I just saved it on my desktop, so there it is. Now we're back in action. Okay, we're gonna select that tool. I'm actually gonna take this one and kind of hide it. I'm gonna hide it as so that it's there but we don't see it. And now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna just go ahead and drag this out. I wanted to see something real quick. We're not in Dynamesh, which is good. I'm going to hold control at this point. Now I'm going to start just kind of manipulating this fur a little bit. Might make it a little bit smaller, a little stubbier, but I'm starting from the bottom where hair is going to overlap on it. And we're just going to block out the fur. Now, the reason why I do it this way, there's tons of ways you could do it. You could build VDM brushes. You can have curve brushes built. You do it this way because I feel like I'm also solving my 3D printing problem where I need to make sure that the mesh is going to intersect, because when you stack up a bunch of stuff, you can end up getting pockets and holes in between, and then you have to fix it anyway. Sometimes when you Dynamesh, it'll fix it, but I've had issues before. Because it's a unique character, I take unique approaches. You don't have to do it this way. This is just kind of my logic. But I feel like every time I take the time to draw something out like this or make it just a little bit different, I then kind of solve the problem of making sure that it's 3D printable at the same time. So, to each their own, whichever works, but hair is one of the things that I think is the most crucial to take your time on. So this is just kind of my approach. Awesome mouse! Yay, Zachary, how you doing, man? Alright. So I'm gonna go around in a little bit of a band. Now, anytime I drag out a new piece, what I do is I just hold control and drag that out. But every once in a while, if I need a new piece, that's why I built the IMM, so I can just drag out a brand new piece, untouched, and I'm happy with that. Also gonna drag this down, going for some fun, uneven, random hair bits. Go bigger, a little smaller. Also, too, this detail is gonna be super tiny, right? So we don't have to stress on perfection as much as we just want to make sure that it's going to give us the results we want. Drag out another piece. And you can make this brush as refined as you want. Because we're going to merge all together, I'll refine it after the fact. Just do this. It's not about getting it super perfect. It's about getting the look and feel that you want. End up doing this throughout the whole piece. Hair and cloth will always be the most difficult things to render. And by render, I mean sculpt. Absolutely. Yeah. And you know what's funny is I love programs like Marvelous Design because it makes cloth easier, right? But I love the feel of hand sculpted cloth. It takes more time, but for me it just works, you know. And I like the feel of hand sculpted hair for the exact same reason. Even hair generators, they look awesome and amazing and they serve a purpose, but for me, I like to sculpt out each piece. I don't know, it's satisfying. It's also cathartic for me. I find it to be really enjoyable to just draw out a piece and then work on the next one. I can get lost in just forming hair. Render used to have the meaning before its current meaning in 3D. Yeah. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is I'm actually gonna select all this, and now we're gonna go to polygroups, auto groups. Gonna make it a little bit easier to then select one piece at a time. But a lot of times what I'll do is, let's hide this for a second. I'm going to take this piece and we're going to delete that piece. We're going to delete hidden, right? And then this is what I'll do is I'll control drag this section out. And we'll kind of manipulate this, scale it up a little bit, move it around as we see fit. I'm going to hit the move brush now. Now here's what's really cool. So let's do auto groups again. With the gizmo out, I'm just going to select the piece I want to move. And that way I don't have to hide each piece all the time. And we're going to drag this piece out. gizmo, touch that piece, turn the gizmo back off, or keep it on actually, because I don't need to scale this up. That's kind of how I speed my way through it a little bit. Gizmo back on, touch right there, turn it off. My little method. It's both the opposite of retarded for me. Yeah, you get used to it. You get used to it. I know what you mean though. I used to stress on hair. Oh guys, I have to show you. If you guys want to see it, I'll show you some of the most ridiculous hair I've ever worked on. I really enjoyed the process. It's an older piece. I think the piece is like a little over 2 years old now. But one of my favorite pieces is a Wonder Woman piece. And oh my gosh, that hair was insane. Oh, speaking of printed pieces, I have to tell you guys, I'm in the middle of printing the Demon Slayer piece all in PLA on an FDM printer, so I'll have to showcase when it's done what it is, but before I release that model, I'm making sure that it's printable 100%, so it's in the works. Haven't forgotten. I prefer insert mesh. I was gonna try it with the alpha brush, but I wasn't really liking it, so I changed direction. I feel like the insert mesh is just a little bit easier, controllable for me. But I want to practice a little bit more with the curve alpha because I feel like the curve alpha is going to give me better results. I do play with VDMs from time to time, but I haven't played with it in a while just because I kind of stuck in my IMM world. Haven't seen it, but if that's where those mice are from, maybe I should. Yeah, it's from Demon Slayer, so definitely check it out. Yeah. Back here. Go. Yeah, these mice are actually new to the current season, which is the Entertainment Arc series. So again, now we're starting to get some fur here. Now I know it's all white, but that's just so we can showcase what we're doing here. Let's scale this piece up. We're gonna bend that back. Sometimes if you need to drag that out the way, pull that there. So now what I'm going to do, the fun little thing I like to pick up, is we're going to grab the select lasso. I'm going to select the things I want, like this. Oops, I'm going to select these right here. And I'm going to hit Control-Shift-A. So if you have things grouped together like this and you just want to have the top row, the bottom row, select the portion of what you want to keep, then hit Control-Shift-A, and that will propagate the rest of it. And then you can mask that off. And then you can come through the center, and then you can hit Control Drag. Scale that up a little bit if you'd like. Now, of course, too, we need to make this different, right? We can't just have them be the same. So, same thing, we're going to come here, polygroups, auto groups, hit W for the gizmo, touch the one we want to edit. Then we start editing that one. So there we go. I'm going to refine these once we merge them together a little bit, so not worried about where it's at on the chunky side. Now we're going to go ahead and what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw out another piece. I'm going to pick my IR fur, drag this piece out. We don't want things to get too dense too quickly. I like to work in sections. So I'm going to go ahead and pick the one that we want, and we're going to split hidden. This way we have sections that we can work with. Come back here, color drop that section, color fill, and now we'll come back here and we'll just work with this piece. Grab. Okay. Bit. Rotate that, that'll come here. Start making these pieces just a little bit bigger. Okay, it says something is partially hidden. Oh, funny. Okay. Must have Control Z back in the day, so perfect. Go. Go. Now, of course, too, if we want to move part of the front part, but not the back side, or we want to make sure that this is actually kind of colliding in with the underlaying mesh, that's where backface mask comes in. So if you go to brush, then you go to auto masking, down at the bottom, backface mask. This will allow me to kind of pull that mesh in. We'll do the same thing here. Start pulling in that mesh. This is why I do it this way, because I know it's intersecting now. Actually, just apply that touch. Backface mask, I think, should like be a default turned on. One of my favorite features. Oh, work with that a little bit. Start bringing things through. So we're just gonna go ahead and push on forward. I made it a shortcut up here, so brush, backface. Drag. Gonna repeat stuff. Actually do auto groups here. Let's grab one. Drag it. Go. Continue this process. I wonder too. I want to try something. So I'm going to draw out. I want to try something. Go back to my IR fur brush. Like this piece here. Then I'm going to go up to interpolate. So we're going to go to stroke. And I want to have 4 pieces. So we're going to stroke, count, and then hit interpolate. Yeah. Yeah, that's what we're going to do now. Speed this up a little bit. A little bit How long does it take to usually finish a full character? That's a great question, and it really depends on the character, the amount of detail you're trying to put into said character. So it really does just depend on the project and what you're trying to do. Um, Something like this, I will take, if I was able to work on this, like let's say like 8 hours a day, I could probably have this character done in about 3 to 4 days and ready for render and print testing. Just because we're not going super realistic with him. He's stylized and so forth, but that's like a solid 8 hours a day. And it's hard for me sometimes to work on my own personal projects. So it just depends. If I was commissioned to do a piece like this, I would quote about 2 weeks. I'd quote 2 weeks minimum. That way there was just time to for any type of errors or anything that unforeseen happens, because that'll happen a lot. So it just depends. But for personal, I mean, yeah, I guess the other thing too is it depends on like, are you asking more like, is it a personal project? How long it should take you? Because I mean, for me, projects personally should take as long as they take because there's no real rush to finish them. However, if you're working on a portfolio piece and it's something with purpose, then you probably want to give yourself a deadline just because it will help you finish the project. Because a lot of times, especially in the early beginner days, it's hard to kind of factor in when something should be done. So if you give yourself a deadline, let's say you start a project, give yourself like 4 or 5 weeks to have it done, rendered, ready to go. That way you're not stressed or rushed, but you have you get used to meeting deadlines. But again, it just depends. I've seen people work on full-fledged, hyper-realistic, likeness models that have taken a year because there's so much to do, and they're obviously doing other projects too to stay afloat. So, yeah, that's I guess a little bit more of a complicated answer. There's my long-winded version of it. Okay, let's go ahead and go back face, and let's kind of pull this out a little bit. The reason why I'm not using nanomesh or feathers there instead is just because I like to take a more sculptural approach to things. I am more, I kind of compare my style like brute force with purpose. I like to do things this way because I feel like I have full control over it. Nanomesh is good, and trust me, that's not in any way, shape, or form am I knocking on it. Nanomesh is a great workflow, and I've done it before, but I like to do things a little bit more with a sculptural process. So I can also control the outlook, the end model. So, but what you will notice that I tend to do is I tend to draw out a line, and then I'll definitely copy and paste things. But yeah, because it's fur, I want a specific shape. I don't want it feeling too, the word. I don't want it feeling too mechanical. If that makes sense. It's just me. Yeah, I don't want it to feel like it was auto-generated. I want that hand sculptural feel. Maybe mechanical wasn't the right word, but yeah. Just my style. Keep hitting the wrong button. I get it. Yeah, it was just a Jinx mount. Oh, okay. Yeah. Jinx! Yummy, a cherry hug! Oh. Anybody remember that when you do that with your siblings? I'm sure you guys can't see. It's really dark in there. So let me go ahead and turn that color off for a second. You can see a little bit more. Okay. Get that a bit. Yeah, I know this. I know the way I do it can be a little bit mundane. So what we'll do is we'll break from this for a second, and then we'll move on to fixing up those hands in a little bit. I want to get a good bulk of this done, because what I will end up doing, I won't do this for both legs this long. What I'll do is I'll end up copying the majority of this over, and I'll refit it like a mirror and weld, and then I'll break it up, and then I'll start merging things together, blending, shaping, getting it looking the way I would like it to look. So I tend to do one side and then I repeat it to the other a lot. Get the one block out, so to speak. We're starting to get there. Now the other thing I could do too, instead of masking everything the way I've been doing it, the other thing that you could do too is you could turn on topological. So if I go here and turn on topological, now I can move just the one thing at a time. So I don't have to keep masking stuff off. That will speed up my workflow as well. If I want to rotate this list, so to speak. Actually do auto groups here. Poly groups, auto groups. Now, when I click this with purpose, now I can just use this for rotation, right? Then, now with auto groups turned on, I can actually start kind of flaring out some of these. Just work with a 1. And that's a lot faster too. Good. Yeah, these. Okay, let's take a break from this for a little bit so you guys aren't bored to death. And let's save it. And let's move on. Let's get his hands cleaned up, because his hands are kind of still like this. They're kind of blah. Press the skills. Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Lipsy, thank you so much, dude. Welcome in. Okay, let's fix these hands, because these hands are just atrociously god-awful. So we're going to delete 1 and work on 1, and then we'll copy-paste, mirror and weld like we did before. Let's just go ahead and go delete hidden, and then let's get this cleaned up. So you can see I had the starting of a block out, and we're just going to sculpt the fist in its place. So let's start merging this together, and then we should be able to clean it up and make it look better than what it is. Hands are going to be so tiny. Oh, wait, you know what? No. We said that he'd be trying to hold the pen. Oh, that's going to work. Okay, let's make the fist first, then we can make hands second, and then we could try to see if we can make that pose work to hold the pen. But I'm thinking I actually want to go with the pen being held by the tail to give the piece a little bit of weight. Let's make the fist first. And if you guys, those of you who are new to the stream, we are going to turn this into a stylus holder. That is an idea that came from Ryan in the chat. I believe it was you, brother. Let's get this done, dude. Clean. Take his knuckle surface. Let's actually increase the resolution. So we're gonna go to Dynamesh, so geometry, Dynamesh. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna turn on groups or group because I want to up the resolution of this piece, but I want to keep the groups separate for now, so I can like quickly clean things up easier. And then when everything looks to be the way I want it, then we'll merge it as one piece and then have it angled in. So I think that'll be a lot better. So let's go ahead and Dynamesh group. That is way too dense. Let's dial it down. How did that get denser? Down. Off and on again. Okay. I'm not quite sure. There we go. Okay. I see what we did. Back that up for a second. I hit a little button. I hit a button. I'll be fine. I'll be fine for now. Move this down. Plane this. I like to look at my own hand when making any type of fist. I like to look at my own feet when I'm making feet as well. Just easier. It's the reference I have right there. Might as well, you know? Do a little rough sketch. Lay out knuckles here. Go. Yep. This side. Go this way. Thing. Buries it in there. Checking out your art station, breathtaking work on the Gwynnum fan art. Oh, thanks, man. Oh, you can print it too. It might be. I think it's still on my art station, but here I'll show you. I'll post a link too, but let's see. If you haven't seen the print, you could definitely check out the print version. The big piece. But yeah. And I made it so that you can actually put it up against the wall on the backside there. But yeah, that's the printed version. And even prints the little spider webs in one piece with the base. Cool, man. So yeah, definitely download it. It's free. Fun. Oh, things are really good. How are things with you? Things are really good. Just a quick note. I was on a Reddit page the other day, and I saw somebody posted they painted my Captain America piece. If you guys see anything of my fan art pieces that I've done here on Pixo or even in my past work, most of my STLs are free to download, so you don't have to pay for anything that has IR sculpts on it. So if you see any of my work, you know, and they're charging for it, just contact me and I'll send you the file if it's available. So you don't have to worry about it. Usually I have things on My Mini Factory, 3D Cults, and ArtStation. Those are the big three. And I dropped a link down there. So yeah, definitely. My fan art stuff is always free. It's just a rule I have personally. I like to just share my stuff. So yeah, enjoy. And I think I just dropped the link. Yep. So you can find all that stuff there. But yeah, definitely enjoy them. I was already following you because that was like the second thing I printed on my Mars. Oh, nice. Yeah, that was one of my favorite longest pieces, because that was the first piece I decided to do truly asymmetrical. I took a base mesh, I posted immediately, and then I worked on that piece from start to finish, from a base mesh, A-pose, the whole time. So that was a huge anatomy study for me at the same time. And it's based off of, I want to say, Greg Hornet, the comic artist. It was based off of his concept. So super beautiful concept, and I just had to create a 3D version of it. I had no idea that Sculpts was one of 3 things that I made me start doing 3D and buy a printer. Oh, that's awesome! Dude, that's so awesome, man. Oh, cool. Yeah, I love that piece. Okay. Roughly sculpting the hand out. Yeah, because I'm not going to give this hand a... I'm not going to give this hand fingernail. It's going to be too small and quite ridiculous. But we'll get a little bit of thumbnail and get that topological in. This around. Go, then we can kind of merge this together and then clean it up. So let's do that. Let's turn off group. Let's dynamesh it together. Use picker for that. As not needing to be 4,000. Go. Now I'm going to use the inflat brush. It's supposed to be called inflate. I've always called it inflate. I'm in here. I've called the inflat brush inflate. Merge this together, and let's go up in resolution a little bit. They build up, and we're just going to go ahead and add some knuckle bits here. And then even though it's 3 fingers, what we want to do is make sure that the knuckle has shape to it. Your fist is kind of, it's not squared, it has some roundness to it. Good morning, Harsh, how you doing? So we're going to do that where we take these knuckles and we keep rounding them. Same with the fingers. Kind of bit. Identify the difference between the pinky and the... And I just made a terrible mistake and my anatomy is terrible, so let's back this all the way up and fix it. Yeah. Yep. Thumb should be over the fingers. Job in. That's what I do. I ridicule myself. Like... Hold on. I got it. I have to look this up. Bodybuilders don't hold... They don't make fists, do they? They actually move their thumb out to the side. So, bodybuilder and pose. Let's see something. Yeah. Okay, you know what? Here. Posing. So this is how I check my reference. Okay, it's like kind of a fist, kind of not. Kind of like a clear shot. I guess his thumbs are kind of like more straight, aren't they? Okay, yeah, here, okay. He's actually curling his thumbs in. Does that do something? What does that do? Does that actually do something? Thumb rabbit hole, yeah. You know, like... Bodybuilders do something different with their hands. Let's go hands. This just turned into how to search for reference 101. Yeah, okay. So that's more of a fist there. It's kind of a fist there, but it's almost like a straight thumb. It's not quite a fist. And then here he's tucking his thumbs in. So, you know what? We're going to go in the middle of that. We're actually going to place his thumb... We're going to place his thumb, like... I don't know if you guys can see that. Let me switch back over to the full frame. So I'm actually going to have him do his thumb like that instead of making a traditional fist. I think we're going to do something like that. I think that'd be kind of fun, just a little bit different. Because it's not quite a fist. Let's do that. Let's make it interesting. This is what I do. I wouldn't normally tell you to sculpt it this way, but I feel like, you know what? Yeah, let's make it... trying to find the natural position of it. Okay, let's get the normal move. And we're going to go to brush and turn off topological for this. Topological doesn't like to work when things are masked off. So I would never suggest holding a fist like that, but I feel like that's more natural and comfortable in the pose, because a fist I'm feeling pressure in my forearm. This is why it's so good to like maybe try to pose yourself when you're figuring it out, because then you could feel where things feel right and wrong. And for me, it's more comfortable to have my thumb relaxed up here and then bring that forearm down instead of trying to make a fist. So I'm going to go with the benefit of the doubt that that's how he would pose. Making stuff up now, you know? Okay, here's what needs to happen. I need to become a bodybuilder, and then from there, spend years in the pose, understand it, and then come back and we'll finish this piece. True commitment to your art, man. So maybe what we will do, because it's going to look weird, is I'm actually gonna detail that thumbnail, because now it's going to look funky this way. So we're going to put that information there. Hey, Leonard, how you doing? I'm good. Figuring out how one would hold their hand, or how they'd hold their fist in a bodybuilding pose. You know, as we do. How are you doing? Okay. I'm gonna push that down a little bit, like he's adding a little bit of stress to it, and I'm actually going to make another knuckle right here. So we're gonna go ahead and kind of bend this at this point. So he's kind of pressed his hand into it. So you see the dancing mice on the screen? That is what we're sculpting. And we're kind of figuring out the hand pose at the moment. Dogum, welcome in, welcome in. Also, to answer your question, yes, there are poses where bodybuilders make a fist. Nice. Enjoying watching your stream. Awesome. Welcome in, welcome in. Yeah. So yeah, I guess it will just depend greatly on comfortability then. Which, hey, that works. Well, before we finalize and merge that, let's actually see something. So, can't really see his thumb from the backside anyway, or until we get to the backside. So if we were to go ahead and then bend this down this way, which is the original pose we were going for, plus we're going to blow up his hands a little bit. Go. So that gives us... Yeah, that gives us a little bit of... Yeah. And you know what? Yeah, I think we're going to go with that. That down just a little bit. Oh, I like it. We'll go with that. All right, let's clean this hand up because it doesn't look too beautiful. We're gonna really push it though. We're gonna push that down. We're gonna go 90-ish degrees or close to it. So we'll really kind of push that in. Let's make that change right there. Turn on back face at this point. So under the brush menu, back face. Now I need to kind of blend this together. That one and the same. And we'll get that detail going up. Together. This needs to be cleaned up, so we'll do that now. Get these knuckles fixed because they're a little rat finger. I'm gonna mask off section so I can work on it a bit. Fun fact. Ooh, I like those. Arnold Schwarzenegger would have a trailer full of weightlifting equipment that he would use 30 minutes before he would shoot a scene in a movie. Truly pump himself up. Heck yeah. Yeah. Doesn't The Rock do the same thing too? Like, The Rock has like, what does he call it? Iron Paradise? Where he has like just so much. He has a full gym that he takes on set. It's crazy. But yeah, no. Arnold always looked super shredded on stage. And I'm into the movies. Let's clean this up now because it's very, very rough. I'm going to save it real quick before we do that. And we'll merge it all together. And then from there, we'll go ahead and start doing final cleanups. making it look just a little bit more natural and not this. And not this, okay? This is just not what we're going. Hello again. What glue do I recommend for prints? So for glue, I recommend to just use Gorilla Glue. I feel like it works a little bit better than your standard super glue. I use Gorilla Glue myself, but I'm starting to get into the world of magnets, and I actually bought these tiny little small magnets that you would almost use for like a refrigerator magnet. And I'm gonna actually test that by like installing these in my Demon Slayer piece, seeing if it will hold. I'm gonna do a couple attempts, but for glue, Gorilla Glue works really well. Yeah, it's cheap, affordable, and you don't need a lot. And if you get the expanding, like the foaming Gorilla Glue, you put a little bit in there and then you press it down. If there's enough space, the glue will actually kind of spread around it and kind of hold a little bit better. So, but yep, not a problem, Jose. Oh yeah, magnets. I've seen some somebody else do it really well, so I want to get into that myself. Then I don't have to permanently keep that piece up. You know? Let's see. I want to just use the basic clay brush at this point. Where are we? Up here. It's the basic clay brush. Kind of get a little bit of some fat pads in there. Remember, when you close your fist, get a little bit of pressure happening. Feel it. Now here, let's actually divide that a few times. We can get some detail here. We can get the bony landmark. So remember, we're still in a technical blackout stage, but we're now refining. So I'm not really focused on detail so much. I'm more focused on making it look decent enough to read the way I want it to before we get to the detail stage. So things are still loose and low resolution here, not finalized in any way, shape, or form. Because sometimes, you know, you'll sculpt this hand, and then tomorrow I'll come back and I'll hate it 100%. And then from there, I'm going to want to, like, fix it. You know what I mean? So it's always important to kind of keep things loose in the beginning, because it just helps us pivot before settling on something. So in this case, you know, we'll probably get this forearm merged in a little bit more. Get this forearm over here done. Way up. For our low poly modeling using the modeling brush. Noodling or modeling? Do you actually have smoothing groups? Hold on. Let me try to reread that. For low poly modeling using the Z modeling brush, you actually have smoothing groups. So you can use, if I understand the question correctly, you can use dynamic to do any type of smoothing. But I guess it depends on what type of smoothing you're trying to go for. Like in this case, when it's low poly, whether we're using Z Modeler or any other brush, if it's low enough, hit D, that's going to give you dynamic subdivision. So it's going to give you a smoothing feature to your model, but it won't actually apply it until you hit apply. As far as the Z modeling brush it goes, so BZM, if I were to use it, let's say on a cube, save this real quick. we come here, turn this. So for this aspect here, you know, if I was modeling something like this, again, that's where D would come in, and I can have that create that smoothing effect you're talking about. And I can have that on as I'm working. Right? So if that's the feature you're talking about, then yes, just have dynamic subdivision turned on. It's D on the keyboard. If you go to geometry, dynamic subdivision, it's right here. You can turn it on and off. You make a recess for your magnet, then add a little space to the side to allow the glue to go somewhere. Heck yeah. Great tip. We'll make sure to do that. Thank you, sir. Okay, it's 7:27, so we got like about 30 minutes more because I go until 8. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed yourself. Let me know if you guys have any questions about ZBrush, but yeah. What we're going to do here is we're going to go mirror and weld. Mask off this side. These hands up here. Again, because what I'm doing right now is I'm actually just trying to keep the model looking consistent. I go live every Sunday. Jose, I go live every Sunday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, or Los Angeles time. Yeah, oops, I had Z. Okay, now we have that hand in there. I'm actually going to keep this hand separate, so I'm actually going to split hidden. So, Fatty Bull, I don't know Blender very well, nor could I really answer that question at this time because I just don't know it. But as I understand it, dynamic subdivisions is essentially a function that smooths your mesh without actually applying it. But yeah, I couldn't answer the question because I don't know the tools in Blender well enough. I don't use Blender for sculpting purposes, so I just don't know. So I can't really answer that question, but I can say that dynamic subdivision is a temporary smoothing until you apply that, just like fake subdivision level, which will greatly depend on your mesh. Now, you could do other features like bevel and kind of, you know, if you're hard surface modeling here and you don't want to just use the dynamic smoothness, you could use Bevel Pro. You want to round out corners. There are other tools as well. But yeah, like a bevel arc and bevel flat. But under ZModeler, if you're unfamiliar with any of the features, you hover over a face or an edge or a point, it will give you a ton of features on here. But smoothing, yeah, we use dynamic smoothing on this side, which dynamic subdivision, which would just be essentially that fake smoothness. So, yeah, no worries. Okay. Let's take a look at this right now, because what we're going to do, so what I'm going to do off stream, because I'm going to continue to do it now, but off stream, I'm going to continue to refine it, so the next stream we have, we can continue moving forward. But we're going to work on getting his neck looking a little bit better, and then we're also going to, well, we're going to do that now, but then off stream, I'm going to continue to build this up, but honestly, it's going to be a lot of, like, I'm going to be copying and pasting and then refining that and then adding in unique pieces wherever we go. But yeah, let's fix his neck because that's actually bothering me right now. It's kind of like choking on himself, and that's not good. That's not helpful. He can't breathe. Let's get those pecs down. back up. Okay, let's actually get the head up just a little bit more. There we go. Move that over. Yeah, okay, there we go. That's better. I'm going to use the damn standard and kind of cut that in under his neck way. We'll take the clay buildup and I refine those muscles a little bit more. And let's see here. Go, let's kind of push this up a little bit. So a lot of times I'll like to take the damn standard and I like to just kind of draw that in a little bit. Like literally just carve that in. And then here where this connects, I'll actually pull that in the rest of the way. So again, I'm gonna fit. Let's get this one arm looking just a little bit better. Hey, Animal, how's it going? Yeah, it's coming along for sure, brother. It's coming along. Thanks for coming in. Appreciate it. Yeah, we're now getting to the point where we're just refining the muscles and getting the feel of it. Still need to clean things up just a smidget, but crazy. I'm actually kind of trying to toe the line between realism and anime. But what I love about some anime pieces is that I definitely can blur those lines up a bit. So take a look at that real muscle on the back side of the moon. Okay. Bit of a right there. Go. So I'm gonna use clay buildup. Or not clay buildup, I'm gonna use clay, just the clay brush. I like to use clay when it comes to getting a little bit more of a fattier texture. I'm gonna smooth this down from that double bicep. He does curls like Arnold does. Maybe I should look at JCVD's double bicep. That might actually be a really good reference. Scratch that. I know that's going to be a really good reference. I think his so here, let's go JCVD double bicep. There we go. From the one and the only Street Fighter. Get over there. There we go. That image is not taken. Hey, I'm trying to make a game. Can you help me? You'd have to be a little bit more specific than that, GitHood. Yeah, what part of the game are you trying to make? So it's a pretty big question, my friend. Oh, yes. It was his last movie. It was his last movie, and I think he was fighting cancer in that movie, which is just so impressive and so sad, but just like, man, really just great, amazing, uh, great and amazing actor. Okay. So I'm now noticing, looking at JCVD's deltoids here, that we're actually going to correct a little bit of this motion here on the back. The deltoids and back muscles are a little too large. You can actually... if it's your first time making a game, I would recommend checking out workshops like the 3D Character Workshop. Because not only do they teach you the amazing aspects of sculpting, but they take you through the entire process on how to make game-ready assets. And from there, you would definitely be able to start making your game. Perfect. I'll give you a link. Actually, where I went to school at. Shane Olsen, amazing instructor. So, if you would like to check out 3D Character Workshop, that would get you on the right path. But, you know, there's a lot of bits and where to start. I don't make games. I make statues for the toy and collectible world. So, definitely check out Shane's stuff. They'll get you on the right path. Hopefully that's helpful. Carving back this neck a little bit so I can refine this area, because the way the head sits is just a little crazy. So I want to make sure that that sits right, and it's not too intrusive. It looks more natural. They're gonna build up that look. I don't like it. Vicky, you don't like it. Now I'm just correcting proportions at this point. So especially when you're doing asymmetrical sculpting, it really helps to kind of like come back and take a look at what it is you've touched and really focus on getting those shapes in there correctly, best as you can. Again, working on both sides at the same time will help keep things a lot more symmetrical and a lot more consistent between one side to the other. Because I'm working with Dynamesh, you could tell I'm smoothing a lot. Still not fully... I'm not detailing enough yet. We're just still getting those base shapes out. Now, a really fun way, especially if you're not used to using this light box up here, a good way to check your silhouette, especially if this is too small or you don't have it at all, a good way to check your silhouette is to actually go into your models and just go to materials and just do outline. This is a really good way to kind of take a look at your piece and kind of showcase every aspect of it and see if it looks good to you, if anything stands out. Because the biggest thing about any statue, or really any character for a final render, is you want to make sure that the piece is dynamic, that the silhouette looks good, that the proportions and volume is correct. So as you're going through your piece, looking at the silhouette like this is going to be so helpful in figuring out just the final shapes before you decide to finalize stuff. And what I like about the outline thin material is that, as you can see here, it kind of outlines each subtool and gives me the shapes, and wherever the light's kind of hitting, it kind of replicates this nice little cutout. So I can see how, like, you know, this leg right here that's bending, it's kind of limp, actually. This isn't a super powerful pose. This is more of like his foot's like barely out. So I may want to exaggerate that a little bit more. But I do like the back of the pose looks pretty good. Tail's lining up. Front is a little, yeah, it's up there. So, you know, let's work on the side just a bit more. And then let's come back and take a look and just double check everything. And then that will wrap up for the day. So let's go to startup material. So let's save it, and then let's go to second posed version. So let's go back to transpose master, T-pose mesh. My experience, usually when posing a character, I will go back and do 2, 3, 4, sometimes even 5 iterations of that pose, just because a lot of times, you know, you're not going to nail it the first time, but you'll get pretty close. Yeah, you love that outline too? Yeah, it's such a good thing. Also, too, I noticed his butt muscle's a little limp here, so we're going to have to fix that. So, come through. Let's correct that. Oh, that's flashy. Right? Now, it's always a good idea to not bring in Dynamesh pieces into T-pose mesh, just gonna say. So, yeah. It's kind of my fault. So if it gets a little sluggish, I apologize. Okay. Now here, we're actually going to cast that part off. That's right there. You have to be super flashy. Go. We're going to put that right there. Kind of line that up with the shin. Now again, we're going to try to showcase this, but at the very bottom, if you're looking at your viewport, again, you have this white line down at the bottom. That's kind of your frame. I like to use that as that's what the floor itself is. Really just helps guide. Again, not too far off. Go ahead and correct this a bit. Actually gonna pull this down. Then we're gonna bend this. We'll fix his feet afterward. There we go. That's a little bit better. Can already tell you that's looking a bit nicer. Yeah, I like that. Okay. Yep. And this tail, that's going to help balance the piece. So we're really looking for a straight line down balance right by his head. That's going to be most of the weight. Because we're throwing him back a little bit in this direction, get you a better example. Because we're throwing him back in this direction, we want to make sure that all the weight gets distributed evenly to this portion so that we have that true tripod effect that we're really going for. And that shape itself is going to help balance the piece. Again, here, You have that triangle here. That should work out. Keeping that nice and balanced. So all that weight should theoretically, if we hold that, should help keep that nice and centered. The other thing too, if we notice that we have from the top view, we have his arms in a pretty parallel position, and then his leg to his tail, we're going to want that to be pretty parallel as well, which will give us an X shape, and that will also kind of help center the weight into the piece. So we can get a naturally balanced piece, and we don't have to worry about anything. Are these guys related to Chuck E. Cheese, distant cousins? For the sake of argument, let's say yes. Why not? All right. So let's go ahead and send this back. This is who Chuck E. Cheese calls when, you know, things go down. There we go. All right, that's a lot better. Reconnect that part. Backslash. Now, what we could do too to make sure that things get even and balanced correctly, when the time comes, the best thing to do is going to be to do T-pose mesh and then actually clip straight across, making sure that the tail, the feet are all perfectly flat. Then from there, now let's fix his fix this. We broke his butt. Happens. And that's gonna pretty much call it for the night once we get this fixed. So, I don't know if you guys have any questions. And again, we'll just move into kind of refining, detailing, getting things cleaned up. Okay, so if you're having trouble smoothing stuff, like this is super dense because I still have it in Dynamesh and I don't really want to subdivide it yet. A really good trick is to get smooth stronger. So go hit the comma key for the light box up here, go to brush, go to smooth, which is over here, hold shift and double tap smooth stronger. And now we can turn off RGB, and then now we can really smooth down any assets that we would like to have. And then again, I'm not going to really refine his muscle features here because the fur comes all the way up to its waist. So there's no point in sculpting the muscles here, unless you just want to have some good practice. You know, nothing wrong with having good practice. But for this piece, it's all going to go away. It's all going to be hidden. Doesn't make sense to have that. So. How did yeah, assets, exactly. How did you make the pants again? For the pants, if you would like to make pants on your character, this is how you make pants. Let's save this real quick. If I want to make pants for him, what I would do is I would take this area right here and I'd actually mask out where the pants would go. So I'd actually mask out, let's say right about here. Let's just, instead of doing pants, let's give him shorts. Just because it'll be a smaller piece. So I'd mask out where I want those shorts to be. Something like that. And I'd sharpen that mask, giving me something like this. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use the extract method. So I go to Subtool, Extract, and then I do a couple key features. I don't like to work with dual-sided geometry, especially when I'm blocking out clothing, because it's just harder to work with. So what I do is I keep smooth at default 5, but you know, my fat thumbs make it change. Then I go thick, I go 0. And what that will do is when we hit extract, it's going to give me a preview of a single-sided geometry. From there, we'll go ahead and hit accept. And now we have single-sided geometry like this. And this is how I do most of my clothing. So method's the same no matter the shape. From here, what I'm going to do is turn on the frame, and you can see it's masked. I can invert that mask. So I'm going to soften this mask just a little bit, and then I'm going to clean this up. So I'm going to go to deformation, and I'm going to go polish groups. You are so welcome. Oh, thank you so much. Okay, so we're going to do polish features. Polish features. You can also do polish crisp edges, whichever works for you. Just kind of hit that a few times to clean that up. And now I'm going to clear the mask. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to Z-remesh this. So I'm going to go to geometry, Z-remesher, and then I'm going to I start high. I start higher than most, and then I work my way down. I find that the first time you hit Z-remesher, it kind of is not good. I guess that's the only way to say it. I don't usually like the first attempt, and I like to work my way down to a mesh that I find to be usable. So I usually will take my target polygons and move it to like 10 to 15, no more than 20 though, because then that's ridiculous. So let's do 20 as the cat just to showcase what that looks like. And then I go ahead and hit Z-remesher. Now mind you, if you do have multiple poly groups, it is good to turn keep groups on. But for this case, we're just going straight one poly group thing. So 20, we're going to hit Z-remesher. Let's just see what we get. Now Z-remesher, in my opinion, is really good at doing what you tell it to do. If you just hit Z-remesher a bunch of times, then it's kind of going to give you whatever it thinks is best for you, but it may not be all that great. So we have a few tools that we can use if we're not getting what we want, and I can demonstrate some of those too. So right now this is 20,000 poly groups, and it did okay. So then I like to go to half and do Z-remesher and bring it down. Now notice here, and this is what I mean, we have a pole here, a pole here, and a pole here, which is ridiculous. And for those of you who don't know, a pole is where basically 5 edge loops meet to a single point. That's a pole. And you usually use poles when you're doing any type of retopology for change, edge loop direction change, or you're actually trying to have something that's rounded, kind of, you know, like the back of the head, for example. You usually have poles back here because it kind of helps keep things uniform. But you want to have as few poles as possible because then your mesh can get kind of messy. So the fact that we have like 3 poles here is Z-remesher's way of telling me this is kind of funky. So what we can do is open up our brush palette, hit Z, and then we have Z-remesher guide. And what I like to do is I like to just kind of draw a line across in a couple directions how I want that mesh to go. And then for curve strength, I'll kick this to like 51. Just a little bit higher. And then from here, I'll hit Z-remesher. And now that took my mesh and it kind of cleaned it up a little bit. Now I have a pole here and a pole here. And I have better edge loops. We went from this to this by just using a couple Z-remesher guidelines to say, this is how I want the edge loop to flow. So we're telling ZBrush, do this. And now if I look on the back of it, I got 1 pole. That's okay. It is a posed model, so it's not going to be perfect, but this will give me something a little bit more usable. And let's see how low we could take it. We're about 4,000, so we'll hit Z-remesher one more time. And now we have about 2,000 polys, and that's a lot better, a lot easier to work with. We do have kind of a weird spiral back here. Yeah, we still have kind of a weird spiral back here. So what we could do is actually do the same thing, add a Z-remesher line across, Say same, ZBrush it, see if it cleans it up a bit, which it did. So, again, beats retopology, but this is a good way to get something that's low poly. From here, now, what I'll do is I'll use the Z Modeler brush because it's low enough mesh to work with. It's only about 2000. I'll hover over a face, I'll move it to extrude, polygroups all, then I'll drag out and I'll extrude his shorts. Now if I hit D for dynamic subdivision, I now have some shorts that he could rock. And now it's Twitch friendly. Let's see here. Want to make a pose character for action figure and have detailed accessory like boots, gloves. You recommend pose, then make pose after or on pose right at the beginning. It really depends on you. Whatever is easiest for you. I like to do all my accessories after the pose. If it's an action figure, okay. So for an action figure, most basic action figures will be T-posed. They'll just be standing there most of the time. So it's okay for an action figure to be symmetrical. So you could take it all the way to near finish like you would a game-ready model, because then you're just going to articulate a symmetrical model, or mostly symmetrical. However, clothing is going to be mostly asymmetrical. So either way, for an action figure, it depends on you whether you want to pose it and do it, or if you would want to create the clothing after, or create the clothing before you pose. It's just keep in mind if they want a pose statue for your piece, not an action figure, which again is different. A pose statue like this, I recommend posing after, posing then adding the accessories on top of it, because it'll be more realistic. It'll make more sense, and it's less to pose. Whereas, like we said, going back to an action figures are usually posed, are usually T-posed, so you could take it as far up as you want. For statues, clothing after the pose makes more sense to me. So it's my recommendation, but it's not a hard rule to fall on. It's whatever works best for you. And hopefully that it didn't just confuse everybody on that. Yeah. Let's see here. Imagine that model's in a video game. That'll be tough. Yeah, I mean, if you're working with a statue, so I've done work where the character's in a game and they needed a posed version of it. A lot of times if you're working with a studio like that, they'll probably give you a model that they've already worked on. You'll have to actually take that model and fix it so that you can manufacture it, which in and itself is more work, because they'll usually give you at least the company I worked for, they gave me the final, which ended up in the game. You know, you had to fix that. Yeah. So I guess, yeah, to kind of sum up that conversation, if you're working with an action figure, as in it's articulated and it comes in the box T-posed, like most action figures would, it's okay to work on that model from start to finish in mostly posed. Mostly T-posed. Wow, I can't speak today. So action figures T-pose all the way to final. That's good. I've done that. It works. Statues that are dynamic and posed, like we're doing here, do the clothing. Typically, I would recommend do the clothing after you pose it. So yeah. Hopefully that makes sense. Let's see. My boy has the Naruto headband. Does the model move? So we're gonna make the 3D model of it. Wait, what? Sorry, maybe I misunderstand. It makes, okay, great, perfect, awesome. Well, guys, it is 8 o'clock. That usually means we're wrapping it up. If that is it for the day, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. Don't forget to subscribe and follow Pixelogic, because we do this. There's so many artists here. A-Cube was here earlier. You know, Spicer, Shane Olsen, Paul DC, Paul Gabry, you know, and the list goes on and on. There's tons of great artists here, besides myself, so make sure that you're following if you're not. Also, too, I go live every Sunday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and if you'd like to kind of follow me on my Discord or even on my other other platforms. I usually announce when I'm going live or updates on these models, so you can check me out. And then, of course, too, there are links. If you want any of my models that are 3D printed, I give away most of my stuff. I have a Cults account. I also have a My Mini Factory where you can find the majority of my models. So, and again, you don't ever have to pay for any of my stuff that I post. It's something I like to give away as just kind of a thank you, and just want you guys to have, want you guys to enjoy it. So enjoy, and yeah, cool. All right, guys, that is it. I'm gonna start rambling, and that's never a good sign. So I will talk to you guys later, and I'll see you in the Discord. Bye, 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 bye.